Okay. All right, so tonight we're going to give you an overview of what this program looks like. We're going to talk about the cost of it, and we're also going to share some information about grant options that you might have that will help to pay for the cost of the program. And I'm going to let you know about how to register. So first, I thought it was important to introduce Heather and I. We will be facilitating the program. So Heather, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Heather Thompson, and I work in the field of education for the last 29 years and in a leadership position for over 20. 3 years ago, actually, how I met Carrie is we did our certified executive coaching program through Royal Roads, and I've been a certified executive coach working with various leaders on their leadership journey. So that's a little bit about myself. I'll pass it to Carrie.
Thanks, Heather. So I am Carrie Schwabius, and like I said, I'm in Regina, Saskatchewan, and I am also an executive coach, but I also work with a small family business as the VP of HR and marketing. And I have a master's degree in leadership, as well as a bachelor in communications and a bachelor of arts from way, way long ago. And I spent about 20 years working in corporate communications and helping executive teams communicate with all of their stakeholders. And so we are excited to bring you this program. So I just wanted to give you a quick overview of the program, and then Heather's going to dive a little deeper into what is included in the program. So we're looking at a 12-week program, which will start that week of September 12th, 13th, and go into December. And we're going to meet weekly. On the odd weeks, so the first, third, fifth, and so on, we'll be doing learning sessions. So we'll gather the whole cohort of registrants together and meet and have that learning session. And then on the even weeks, so the second, fourth, etc., we're going to break you up into smaller groups of up to 10 people so that we can have some discussion about the topics that we're talking about in that learning week. So you'll get a chance to really dig in and talk about things, because leadership is really personal. So we really want to give you an opportunity to talk about the things that are going on in your world and how the topics that we're talking about apply to you. And then we've also got some one-on-one instructor time. So part of that is an emotional intelligence assessment and a debrief. And the debrief is about an hour and a half. So all the participants will get that. And then we'll also do another 2 one-on-one sessions throughout the program, so people are getting the support that they need. So the program is basically based on this leadership model. And so we are going to spend one of the learning sessions on each of these 4 areas, and then we've added 2 others. So focusing on self. So when you are a leader, there are lots of things that you need to focus on: your own growth and development, your values, how you show up as a leader. And then the second area is about leading others. So, sorry, I'm just going to mute. There we go. So the second area is about leading others and developing those trusting, productive relationships. And then you don't lead in a vacuum. Of course, you're leading in an organization, which is in an industry, in a province. There are so many things that impact your organization and your ability to lead your team and what they must do within that context. And so we're going to spend some time talking about how do you lead within a context. And then finally, when we talk about leadership, it's a journey. It's not a destination. And so it's all about continuing to grow and learn throughout your whole journey. And so we want to set you up to take what you learn in this program and keep learning and growing. And I'll pass it to Heather, and she's going to talk a little bit more about the 6 learning sessions.
Yeah, thank you, Carrie. And so when Carrie and I were designing and developing this program, one of the things that was really, really important for us was when we started our leadership journey, what would have been helpful? What would have helped us grow as we move throughout our career? So we start off, like Carrie had said, the odd sessions are where we're coming together. We're going to look at, before we start focusing on self, but types of leadership, going and diving a little bit deeper into leadership models. And then throughout the program, we're going to be creating a leadership manifesto. So it'll be a working document that you're going to revisit through the 12 weeks and continue to build this leadership manifesto. So we'll be doing that. That's a 2-hour session. And then what we'll do is we'll have strategy session or a workshop. And what we're going to do is dive deeper in smaller cohorts. So we're having people come together in cohorts of no greater than 10. And then we're going to use the things that we talked about in the previous week and have a strategy session and look at, diving a little bit deeper, how to sort of conceptualize that to your area of your profession so that it becomes more meaningful for you as well. And then sharing with each other about leaders who have influenced us, what's some of the positive things, what are some of the negative things that we've seen in leadership journey, and how we personally as leaders want to continue to grow, and what does leadership mean to us and how we want to show up. The next session, we focus on self. So sort of first part of that model that we've created, and we spend a lot of time looking at, going through our personal and professional values, starting to understand about what is the purpose in creating a leadership purpose statement. Self-awareness is huge, and looking at, blind spots and areas of growth and development, and using the emotional intelligence as a tool as well. And then also incorporating, which we all know is so important, is that wellness aspect, which often sometimes can get pushed to the side. So understanding how these all go together and help us grow when we're looking at focusing on self. So spending time with that. And then we would have another strategy session where we're diving deeper into values. We're diving deeper into strengths, using Clifton Strength Finders as well, and looking at how do we use our strengths then and our values, and how do we come from that focus as a leader. So spending time collaborating with our cohort and having the open discussion and doing a strategy session for the workshop session 2. It's like a tongue twister. And then learning session 3, then we're getting into that leading others. So what does that look like? So we know when we're leading others, relationships are huge. It's so important. Building trust. So we're going to focus on that. How do we communicate? What's effective communication skills? How to have those fierce and difficult conversations? How do we provide feedback and feed forward so that our team is able to grow and develop? And also, how do we use coaching ourselves for ourselves as well as for others on our team? So looking at that for leading others. And then session 4 would be the workshop where we're going through and looking at, what does active listening look like? Providing feedback, again, difficult conversations, and how do we have those, and how do we want to have those conversations in a way that is professional and empathetic, but also helps our team grow and develop. So we would be talking about that in our strategy sessions. And then session 4, we would be doing leading in context. So what does that look like? So looking at our own organizations and looking at systems thinking, what are the systems that are in place? How do we in our organization deliver results as a leader? How do we lead through change? And how do we integrate or understand corporate culture? And how do we lead in context within our corporate culture? So spending time looking at that. So Olivia said, not sure if it's just me, but the share screen is black. Oh, I can, okay. Emma can see it. Okay.
So Olivia, you might want to leave and come back in and see if that works for you. Oh, it's her Zoom. Okay, awesome.
Okay. And then the session 4, again, that's the one where we come back and have the strategy session, and we dive deeper into your system and your corporate culture and community culture, and how will you be a change champion within your own organization. So that's the workshop session 4. And then learning session 5 is looking at work, the female experience, because being a female leader is a bit different. And what does that look like within your organization, within your team? We'll look at DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, and we're going to have a guest speaker that'll come in and talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, and what that looks like or could possibly look like within your organization. So that would be learning session 5. And then again, through learning session 6 or workshop session 6, your experience and sharing what does that look like actually in a workplace as a woman? How do we manage unconscious bias in the workplace, and how do we promote workplace diversity? So again, in the smaller cohorts, we'll be talking about that and diving a little bit deeper into that. So you can talk about your own personal experiences in your particular industries as well. And then continuous growth is learning session 6. So again, looking at personal development, feedback, mentors, and coaching. So diving into those 4 topics. And then we would have our strategy session the following week, and it's the leadership manifesto. So as we're going through the program, we're going to continue to build into the leadership manifesto using the different parts of the program. And at the end, you'll have this working document or a fluid document that's going to help guide you on your leadership journey. We'll be looking at creating those professional development plans and how do they align with the leadership manifesto that you have created through the whole process of the program.
Okay, so I'm just going to pause there and I'm going to see if anybody has any questions so far. You can use the chat or you can come off mute if you want, but any questions about the content of the program and what that looks like? Okay. Crystal clear. Okay, so this is just a summary of what's included. So you will get the 12 instructional hours. So those are the odd weeks. And with the larger group, then you'll also get 9.5 workshop hours. So those are the smaller groups, and those are an hour and a half on the even weeks, except for the last one. We're going to leave some extra time to wrap up at the end. You will also do an EQI 2.0 assessment. So this is emotional intelligence. The EQI 2.0 is the most widely used emotional intelligence assessment in the world. And so you will get that assessment and it will show your scores in all the different areas compared to the top 50% of leaders who have also completed that. So you get a little bar and you see where you line up in that bar. And then you'll get a debrief with that. So that's the one-on-one session with either Heather or I, where we talk about the results and set some goals. And then also 2 additional 30-minute strategy sessions, one-on-one with either Heather or I. And that's really focused on your leadership, maybe some challenges that you're facing as you're going through this, or something unique about the context within which you're working. And so it was really important for Heather and I to be able to give people some one-on-one support as well. And then we'll also be sending you 2 books. So one of them is Mind the Gap. So that's a book that Heather and I co-authored with our colleague Doug Forstick, and that is laid out basically as the leadership model. And so we'll go through that book, and then we'll also send you the strengths-based leadership book. This is based on the Clifton Strength Finder, and in that book has a code so that you can do the Strengths Finder assessment as well. So you'll have lots of information about you as a leader, and then lots of opportunity to discuss all these different topics. So we're opening registration this week. The price, if you register before July 15th, is $2,900 per person. And then after July 15th, it goes up to $3,200. We are opening it up to, it's 60 people in this first cohort. So we won't register more than 60, and some of those spots are being held. So about 15 of those spots are being held for some of our sponsors too. So there are only 45 spots that are open to anybody who wants to register. And I'm going to check the chat quick here. What about privacy and confidentiality? I assume some of the discussion of leadership challenges will be sensitive. Jennifer, that is an absolute great question. So Heather and I are members of the International Coaching Federation. And as part of that, we adhere to a code of ethics. And part of that code of ethics is confidentiality. So when we have those discussions, nothing leaves from Heather and I. When we do coaching, we might take some notes. I know that when I'm done a coaching conversation, I walk to the shredder and put those notes in the shredder. They just help me to keep on track while we're having those discussions. But none of the information shared in those coaching one-on-ones discussions are that's all confidential. You can talk to anybody you want about it, but yeah, definitely confidential. Yes, there will be some, especially when we're talking about leadership, maybe some of your employees or team or even your employer, that things that that you want to talk about, and those one-on-ones are totally confidential. And then I want to talk a little bit about training grants. So there are various training grants across the country in various provinces. So there's something called the Canada Job Grant, and each province administers it a little bit differently. So on the website, and you'll see here, we have put the Leadership Development Program under chapters and projects on the Women in Leadership website. The URL is at the bottom there, and it gives a link for each province. Some of the provinces I don't think are continuing that grant. I think one of the maritime provinces is no longer doing it, and then the Northwest Territories, I wasn't sure if there was any information there. We don't apply for the grant. That is up for, typically it's the employer that applies for it and supports the employee to do that. So I have taken advantage of one of these grants when I did my coaching certification. And for me, it covered about 2/3 of the cost. So they're really great options if you can access those in your province. And all those links are on the website. So registration opens June 9th, which is Thursday. If you go on the webpage right now, you will see there's a link for registration, but it actually just takes you to payment. It doesn't actually take you to the registration page. So we need to get that fixed. So please have some patience with us while we get that done. And then you can register, and we will have details about it in the newsletter or visit the website. Okay. So I am going to stop sharing again and see if we have any other questions about the program, about Heather and I.
So there is a question on there about what will happen if we miss a session. So we will be recording those sessions, and they're only available for yourself. So it's, not to be shared out. So if you miss for work or whatever, then, you can go back in. There will be a recording of that class or that session or the workshop, so that you won't miss out on the discussion and the training that we're doing. So you do have access for that. And then, are you going to run the program during working days? That's the next question there, I see. So really good questions. Yeah, so the plan is to run the program during working days so that you can embed it into your work day. So yes, that's what the plan is.
Mm-hmm. So the learning sessions on the odd weeks will be during the day. For the smaller groups, we are going to offer a choice between the day and the evening. And once we have all the registrations in, we'll take a look at how many people would prefer evening and how many people would prefer day, so that we can have some flexibility for people who are interested. Accommodating the session for participants in the East, yes. So we're going to try and hold the sessions midday so that we can get everybody within the workday from coast to coast. And then, you know, if you're unable to make it, you can watch the recording.
Yeah, great questions. So any more questions you want to pop into the chat or unmute yourself?
Okay, wow.
We have
It's
great
nice and
time.
nice and quiet. If you do have any questions, I am going to just pop our emails into here. So Heather, if you want to type yours in there too, feel free to send me an email and ask whatever you like. And if you have any feedback about what you heard today, we'd love to hear that too. Otherwise, I will thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you.
And yeah, like I said, any more questions, please reach out. Have a great day, everyone.